Book of Genesis, chapter 47. I'm going to start at verse verse 13. It reads, "And there was no bread in all the land, for the famine was very sore. So the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which they brought. And Joseph brought the money to Pharaoh's house." Verse 15, "And when money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, Give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence, for the money faileth?" I want to start off by giving all praise, all honor, and all glory to God, Lord, even like Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Kodash, double honors to the elders, to the apostles that learned this truth from. Peace and salutation to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives, as well as their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akim and Aqua out there listening and learning. Lord, willingly, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but whom subscribe to this truth. To you, I say Shalom. It's Brother Yahweh coming at you with another lesson through the Spirit and through the power of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai. Yahweh meaning He is, He exists, or He to be. By Hashem, by His in, His Dash in His name. Yahushai meaning He saves or He delivered. True name to the Most High God and His Son, who these people ignorantly call God and Jesus Christ, but whose true name in Hebrew is Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai. This lesson is inspired by I was watching a video. I forgot the lady name, but she be bringing out pretty decent content. She goes into a lot of videos, I guess the TikTok videos, not for sure. I don't really be on TikTok, but I'm assuming that she be on TikTok because you got a lot of people being there. We're in a social media age or whatever. People been able to manipulate it where they make money, or the people that they choose, they want or like or whatever the case may be, they actually are able to make money. While you got people that got millions of followers and don't make no money at all. I can't think of the one Jake name, but he invented something. He got like a following of 2 million, and he made the statement. He said, everybody assumes because you got all these people following you that you generate all this income, and he said that's not the case. So, again, going back to these platforms with these different podcasts and these different kick streamers, again, that's all to keep the mind occupied, you know what I mean? That's why the guy, AB or Adrian Broder, he was he was a nigga when he was a boxer. He was a nigga before he became a boxer, and he a nigga still to this day, And just speaking on it real quick, because at the end of the day, he pretty much, him and the young guy, is not really like seeing eye to eye like that. So without Adrian Broner, everybody's saying that pretty much is not as entertaining, because Adrian Broner, again, distraction. Entertainment goes into distraction. And the scriptures talk about follow not a multitude to do wickedness, roughly paraphrased. And a lot of people want to follow the bread and circus as opposed to actually being aware of the times we're living in. So we living in a time where, the money's failing. So I went into that word, the money fella, and
Strong's H656. I fast.
And it says to cease, break, come to an end. So the money coming to an end, and how much so that's true is because of the fact, money doesn't go as far as it used to. We're living in a time of inflation, which will soon turn into hyperinflation. Matter of fact, let me get that. Because when you go in the book of Revelation, chapter 6, and verse 6, it talks about, I'm going to start at verse 5, the third seal, famine. "And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand." Verse 6, the point, "And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine." So when you go into this word penny, it's a Greek word, I believe, and the word goes into denarius.
Strong's G 1220. Denarion. Denarion.
Denarion. And it says biblical usage. It says denarius, containing 10, a Roman silver coin in New Testament time. It took its name from it being equal to 10 asses, a number after 217 BC increased to 16, about 3.898, because they was already messing with the money back then, putting, mixing pure silver and gold with inferior metals. That was them pretty much inflating the money back then. It says it was the principal silver coin of the Roman Empire. From the parable of the laborers in the vineyard, it would seem that a denarius was then the ordinary pay for a day's wages. So a lot of brothers, the way I learned it was pretty much they said it was a soldier's wage. So it was a day's pay for a soldier's wage. So when you go into, they use the vineyard, but the way it was explained to me, or the way I understood it, was pretty much it was the pay for a soldier of Rome, or Roman soldiers pay for a day. So when it says a measure of wheat for a penny, wheat goes into the bread or the food. Well, pretty much when you go on that word penny is the denarius. So it's going to take a day's wage in order to buy, bread, food, you know what I mean? And that's where your hyperinflation comes in, which we're pretty much seeing, to a degree. Again, these grocery bills are actually affecting everybody, including myself. And the thing is, a lot of people look at famine as if famine is a lack of food. A famine doesn't necessarily mean a lack of food. A famine can be the result of your inability to get food. So it could be food available. It's just you might be priced out of getting it. And you got a lot of people in that scenario, in that situation. So yeah, we living in some spectacular, beautiful, spooky, how the brother say spooky, strange. I forgot, that brother funny. But anyhow, we living in some beautiful times on your pod. Because again, if you're in a proper spirit, although it might be terrifying, every new thing can be, what's the word? I ain't gonna say terrifying, but it could rattle your nerves. Because you got that feeling of unexpectedness. You got individuals that box and still feel fear before they get in the ring. You know what I mean? That's a rush to a degree to some people. You know what I mean? Some individuals get fear from speaking. I remember one of the most eloquent speakers in the camp when I was part of the camp told me that. And I never like speaking in front of people. Like I say, I ain't saying I'm Moses. You know what I mean? I don't even know if I'm a Levite, but I know this. I never liked speaking. You know what I mean? Until the Lord made me speak, which is spiritual. You know what I mean? When you're in a camp, you can go ahead and lean back and hold posts, or you can be in the background while another brother's speaking. You know what I'm saying? But when you got to go out on the highways and hedges by yourself, you can't. The Lord called Allah for this wisdom, knowledge, and spiritual understanding. Because based on actually the Lord supping with you, you have a huge opportunity of being delivered from this coming destruction. Because it's going to be horrible. And these people deserve every bit of it. You know what I'm saying? I await this. When you take the time to really think about what people get offended by, that the world hates our Heavenly Father. Because the thing is, I can see if these was our own personal feelings and words, we're reading out the Bible. So when you, I know brothers, any brothers that's really, I can't, again, the spirit ain't dealing with just any average individual talking about I'm in this truth. The spirit will mislead you like that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But at the same time, I understand Jake letting certain things play out, because at the end of the day, if it happened, the Lord wanted it to happen. Certain things you nip in the bud. That's why the scriptures talk about, knowing the state of your flock. But, at the same time, everything's the will of the Lord. That's why Paul said what he said about a prisoner of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. So I ain't about to try to ramble or scramble and whatnot. I'm trying to get in and get out, because this is, again, this place is so cooked because of the simple fact you got people joined onto this place, that made careers of this shit as far as being police officers and, politicians and whatnot, and they see it's cooked. You know what I mean? They like, what? You know what I mean? So it's like with Jake, I remember Terrence Crawford made a statement, because he said when he was fighting Carnelo, when they was promoting it, his baby brother or his children, I don't know, I think it was his ex-wife, I think he married her. And the funny part is not to talk about this woman, because again, I wouldn't want nobody talking about mine, but the truth is the truth. You know, she was lightweight, out of shape, and you know what I mean? This dude could probably get anybody he wanted, not just on the, you know, but you could tell he got a certain kind of spirit. You know, he remind me of certain type of niggas that I grew up around, you know what I mean? That's why, like AB and 50 Cent, like these certain dudes, I've met them personalities, you know what I mean? But point being, from what I've seen, put it like that, you know, but, you know, like she was all out of shape and all that shit, but on camera, because he about to fight, she playing along. And he said, you know, women leave, but men stay. You know, a man will put up with a woman, you know, it's very rare. I've only in my lifetime met one chick. It was a chick I was messing with. She was in another city. I had no problem going to visit women. What's happening? Let's take a trip. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what I'm going to see out here. You know, but anyhow, and you know, I liked her too. But she had a father, and I remember the father and the mother and me and her went out, and you know, we all had a drink or whatever. We was chilling. Her father pretty cool, but long story short, no, that's a lie. It's two guys I know that actually left their women after they done had their children. They was married to them. They left them. Usually it's the other way around. It was a Muslim cat, and it was this guy, and the Muslim cat, he literally it's funny to that was the Lord though, because he went and like he elevated himself. He went from like nothing to end up getting a job at a hospital. And I went back to where I grew up at, and them niggas, they done bought a couple houses next door, and the kids stay with him. He a bad motherfucker, you know what I mean? Like for him to be able to manipulate Babylon like that, because most you know, so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, similar Indians, West Indians, and Haitians, we get the short end of the stick here. You know, and I don't know why that happened to them women like that, you know. But the point is, the girl I was messing with, you know, dude left his wife after, you know, and she was all fucked up by it. I remember when I was homeless, she reached out to me, or I reached out to her, and she hit me with some shit, you know, basically trying to motivate me. And I'm like, bitch, don't you know that it ain't got nothing to do? I was homeless for years. You know what I'm saying? And I got skills, you know, skills. Said I ain't just a nigga that just smoked weed and drank all day. You know what I mean? Like I actually don't. I remember Jake saying that. Jake was like, "This bitch got to be crazy." He said, "Shit, you don't mind working. You go to work. What the fuck, wrong? Because you can't please them. So why even bother? It's better to chase wisdom, you know, Sophia, as opposed to chasing one of these, you know, these women, because these women it's just, you know what I mean? This ain't our kingdom, you know what I mean? That's why I never was interested in trying to have 12 women on this side. Now, if the Lord give you that, you a special individual. The Lord favoring you. The Lord, again, I always brought that up about how it was a brother that was used to, you know, being able to buy this, buy that when he wanted to. So the Lord put him in a job where he got tips every day. And I was like, damn, you know, I remember recognizing that. So when you pleasing the Lord will, you know, give you things that you desire. But no matter who you is in this truth, the Lord gonna test you. You just got to understand when it's the Lord and when the Lord allowing Satan. You know what I mean? But Salakia, for my, you know, I'll probably name this of various topics or something like that, since I've been kind of all over the place. But yeah, it's a lot of shit going on. So you know, buckle up, buttercup. But yeah, look at that. Let me do this copyright disclaimer, because you know how they get down. They don't like us. Because they not like us, you know what I'm talking about? Copyright disclaimer. So let me play this. Fair use, fair use. I can't even see this shit. Salakia, there you go.
This is Manus. With other chatbots, I'd ask questions and they'd give me an answer. But Manus is different.
So this is copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes of teaching, criticism. I'm not profiting off of this. You know, made for fair use. So, Lord willing, you get some edification. So this is the video I want to play.
Something that's in the six figures again is a struggle.
Is anybody else sick and tired of every day feeling like $300?
Now, mind you, this dude is tied in, linked in. He joined onto. Now, I'm not saying that the Lord, because I don't, you know, he appeared to be an Edomite, you know, by appearance and whatnot. But, you know, again, the scriptures say, try the spirit by the spirit, you know. I was listening to the elder from Chicago. He was going into I forget all the information, so I don't want to butcher it. But he was going into how the federal government is passing laws, Trump's administration, about pretty much you're gonna have certain individuals that work for law enforcement and work for the government that's gonna be against what this administration about to do, and basically they're gonna label them, in opposition to the government. So they gonna criminalize them as well. So we about to see who all really, like the elder always say, we got to see who all is really body.
And spend less than $100. I mean, gas alone is $75.
You go up the ladder and make good money. So, granted, finding something that's in the six figures again is a struggle.
Is anybody else sick and tired of every day feeling like $300? I mean, you can't walk out your house and spend less than $100. I mean, gas alone is $75. But I just feel like there's a bill due every single day. You check your account. Bill came out. Bill came out. Bill came out. Bill came out. I mean, you can't enjoy the money that you make because you got to pay these bills. And here are the people. Oh, well, you should budget better, and you should do this and get rid of this and get more. I'm just not supposed to have a cell phone. Not supposed to, live. I'm a family of.
And mind you, he gonna say out his arm off. He make a decent money, but the thing is, when you in a certain income bracket, then you live. You got a certain kind of lifestyle. A person like me is not gonna be able to live like a person like, especially this. I mean, again, I don't know if I do mean or not. More than likely, in my opinion, speaking as a man, I believe he is. But at the same time, this the first police officer I've seen complaining. But, you got Esau complaining right now. You got Esau literally in the mindset. They trying to befriend Jake because at the end of the day, they realize, they brothers fucked them over. So they think they go utilize, again, I brought it out at Cap, my female friend, she sent me this video with Paul Booty. And Paul Booty said, what did he say? He said they didn't have no problem when we was, being in their neighborhoods when we was warming their beds when we was their slaves. He said they had no problem with us working 12 jobs when we was their slaves. Now we can't get one job. You got to have DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. You got to have all this shit set up. But you look somebody in the face and tell you that it's a fair system. That's what I'm saying. They just tell you anything. And if you so silly, if you a sheep, you don't know how to analytically think or analyze anything. Yeah, you'll fall for this shit. Because this place, America, doesn't create free thinking people. It's a system. And you're a cog in the wheel. If, like The Matrix. You know what I mean? The Matrix is a very deep movie. For though it ain't just about the nigga running up the walls. No, they broke free from it. So that's why they was able to manipulate, the environment.
I got 4 mouths I gotta feed.
Wasn't part of the system. And when you take time to really think about what I just said, like the spirit just jumped on me right there because I'm thinking like, damn, and we're not part of this system. And that's why the Lord is going to eventually give some of the men and he's going to endow some of his beloved men with spiritual powers. You got to believe in something besides this place. You know what I mean? Like, again, like the fuck, again. And then that's so far-fetched for everybody. The people read the Bible, but don't. So that means you don't really believe anyway. If you can't envision a lot of the accounts in the scriptures, Moses parting the Red Sea, and these different accounts, the Messiah being lifted up into heaven, all these different things. Like, how can you actually hold on to faith when there ain't gonna be nothing to eat? Like, I've experienced days of not being able to eat. And at first it was like, damn, the Lord punishing me, fucking me up. But now I look back on it and say, damn, I appreciate that. I remember the one brother from California said the same thing. He said, before I came into truth, I knew a few little things because of the fact I used to go to church because my grandmother he said somebody in his family was sending him to church. And he was like, he had a female teaching him. And he was like, he used to try to mess with her. But at the same time, the Lord was he was learning certain stuff. And he was like, now he looked back and he grateful for that because that was the Lord basically supping with him back then. I could tell a testimony, but I'm not. But I remember cussing this one. Well, I'm going to say this much. That name Jesus always didn't fit right with me. So it was not really a shocker. But at the same time, I was like, damn, that actually, like, I wasn't going off. You know, that's why like the elders say, motherfucker Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And the peace. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, we serve Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua over here. Let vocab, which he a demon. You know, this worldly ass nigga, you say, like, get the fuck out of here. Like, an Edomite is worldly. A 2/3 nigga is worldly. A spiritual man will be speaking on what's taking place in the world and trying to warn the people. That man ain't no prophet. That nigga an agent. Like the elder said, hocab.
So you're telling me not buy groceries, get rid of your cell phones. Oh, go down the one. How are you going to do one card? That's 2 car payments you got to have. Right? Like, you just...
And you can see the civil unrest brewing. This is a guy that's a police officer for the system. And the funny part, now that they created a system where they're recording and keeping his data. So you work for him, and we got all this information. You said all this? Oh, yeah? This is this nigga master plan. Get the fuck out of here.
And I make pretty good money. You know, a lot of people think police don't make good money. You're going to do one card. That's 2 car payments you got.
And he said out of his own mouth, I make pretty good money, and it's still not enough. Because again, when you, say for instance, you make $100,000. Well, that qualifies you to buy a house that's maybe $300,000. Like he said, now you adding on, you might have 2 cars, insurance, all these different bills. And once they start adding up, yeah, now you just working and living paycheck to paycheck. So again, the term the American dream is turned into the American nightmare is being made reality for these Idumeans as well as these 2/3 niggas. And let them keep on supping it up. Baba Kashah, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. Just like brothers, I'm know in the spirit praying that the Lord keep intensifying this war. Because pretty much if things keep on continuing the way that they're going, the only thing that could actually manifest is the end.
Half, right? Like you just and I make pretty good money. You know, a lot of people think police don't make good money. Depends on where you're at. But I make pretty good money. But it's still every day seems like $300. It just seems like you walk out your door. Well, there goes $300. Not to mention there's a bill due. Like I said, it's just wild to me. I know everybody else is tired with it. I know everybody else is struggling. It just sucks.
And like he said, everybody is suffering. Everybody's tired of it. It's so fucked up to the point. Like back in the day, I catch myself saying little shit that my personal little information because it's overwhelming. You know. And again, when you sit back and really meditate on it, that's why they created these social media platforms for motherfuckers to tell on themselves. That's what this is for. You know it's bad when people got to go online to vent. You can't even vent to somebody that's close to you. So you know it's going to be anarchy. Think about that part. Come on, common sense will tell you not to go air out your information, your business online. You know what I mean? Sometimes certain slips, you know, you might be emotional and you might slip up on some certain shit. But for the most part, people doesn't go, you know what I mean? Like I heard the elder say, he said, you got a mental issue if you go do that. But at the same time, you got a multitude of people that's doing this because they're overwhelmed and stressed out. But on top of it, they can't even talk to the people that's in their life. So when these people lose control, they gonna fucking really lose it. Let me get a scripture. I can't even fucking see. Where's this? I'm gonna get 2 Timothy. Book of 2 Timothy. That's Thessalonians. This 2 Timothy chapter 2. 2 Timothy chapter 3 verse 1, and it reads, this know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. Go into that word perilous. It's a Greek word meaning kalipos, meaning difficult. Matter of fact, let me get it. You know, because again, this dude say, I make good money and still it's like hard. You know, it's difficult. It's shit.
Strong's G 5467. Chalipas. Chalipas.
And it reads, hard to do, to take, to approach. Says hard to bear, troublesome, dangerous, harsh, fierce, savage. You know, I was listening to the one brother from here. I ain't gonna go into no more names, but from here, and you know, it's funny too because out the blue, it just suggested the brother's video that I knew, I dealt with every brother, you know what I mean? Like, I used to buy gifts for every brother, you know what I mean? Not speak, I'm just saying, like, even if I wasn't close to that brother, we didn't hang out because, again, I ain't going to be the reason why we didn't try, But I was cool. I was really cool with that brother. And it's funny, before I left, we were supposed to hook up, like, the next day or some shit like that. But out the blue, his video came in my feed. And then today, when I was out there camping, he pulled up. I was like, wow. And then I told him, he was like, I was like, that's a spirit. I saw a video that you did. And he was like, huh? He was like, for real? He was like, damn, that's a spirit. I was like, yeah, that's a spirit, ain't it? Call Loyim Layah Ba'Shem Yahushua. It was a point I was about to make, and I just lost my train of thought. Salakia. It was something, I brought that up because it was something along the lines of what took place today, because I mentioned it at camp with this video. Something that the police officer said. Salaki, I can't think of it right now. But saying all that to say this, people, more people are struggling than people are actually maintaining, to the point where you got people faking a lifestyle. Which, again, I heard that years ago, you know what I mean? Ain't what you got is what people think you got. And you can play on a bitch like that, but, again, something I never was into that, you know what I mean? As opposed to telling you or trying to flaunt it, I was more so like, or I liked it to keep, the way I learned to keep the mindset of like Frank Lucas. I don't want the attention. What Pimp C said, give me the money, fuck the fame. You get, Frank Lucas was mad. He told himself blessing her and brought all the heat and attention on himself. He was mad as fuck. He burnt her shit and everything. But that was ultimately the Lord, So, point being, I mean, no matter what these people try to do, again, you can work 17 jobs. The economy is failing, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's prophesied. Matter of fact, let me get this book of Zephaniah. I cannot see. Shit. Did I read Zephaniah already? I don't think I read it. Zephaniah chapter 1, starting at verse 9, and it reads, "In the same day also will I punish all those that leap on the threshold, which fill their masters' houses with violence and deceit. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, that there shall be the noise of a cry from the fish gate, and a howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills." The fish gate goes into like a market, and the market, could be likened onto like the stock market, and the crashing is like, the stock's crashing. And the spirit, I forgot the guy's name, he's Asian. I don't know if it's AI or if it's a real guy, but I've been watching him. Like, I watched a couple of his videos, and he been doing all these lessons. I said lessons, all these videos about how the stocks aren't doing good, which make a lot of sense. I mean, I don't follow the stocks like some individuals. Like I said again, I never was interested in stocks and the economy or that like that. The Lord, that's why I made the statement about the Lord put the spirit on me, because that's what being in this truth. Especially when I left the camp, I literally start following and getting into this stuff. But point being, I could believe the stock's not doing good because Iran and America's back to war. They said as soon as they did the signing of that memoranda, stocks went up. But when war is going on, stocks go down. So Donald Trump is literally like being a warlock because he knows what he says can affect the economy. Haven't y'all paid attention to this shit yet? What he does and says can make the economy go, or the stock market rise, or fall. And now that, I think Iran bombed a ship, and then America bombed them, and now they said America did a second strike. But it's funny because now the strait is open back up, and they're letting boats through. So there's so much information going on, and you don't know how much of it's misinformation. All you can do is really sit back. You can try to keep up with it as much as possible, but all you can do is trust in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, because pretty much it's playing out the way that the Lord said it would. So why not trust him now? You know what I mean? I could be overly emotional, but at the same time, when a person will show you who they are before, a person can tell you who they are, but the way you really know who a person is by how they show you. That's why I look up to and value the elders and apostles that I learned this truth from, because everything they've done, they haven't switched up yet. The elder even said that in the video today. He said, I'm not a God. He said, so you got to filter what I say. You know what I mean? He's saying, don't just blindly follow me. And he's one of the few men I've heard say that. I forgot who said, you got to do what I say. I'm like, I ain't even ever said no shit like that. I did ask, I said, if everybody is so much in order, then why is he that's under me not listening? So if he not listening to me and I'm not listening to you, then there's something within the whole thing, right?
If you're so
And that still don't take away from the truth, because the truth is what Adrian Broner and Mike Tyson, I heard them personally say, they say boxing is a lonely sport. This truth is a lonely road, you know what I mean? And it's one of the most difficult things I've ever experienced or done in my life. I'm proud to say if I ain't accomplished no $1 billion or even $1 million, you know what I mean? If I ain't accomplished or experienced, succeeding in certain ways that the world will view as, oh yeah, you accomplished something. I'm glad that I've been able to hold on to this truth. I'm glad I understand that what's really taking place. Because all your accolades and everything that you possess right now is going to be taken away. Again, that crash is coming. And Lord willingly soon.
Profitable, why do you sell a course? Well, you know what? Here you go. I don't care. It's all free. I'm giving it away. We have
I know everybody else is tired with it. I know everybody else is struggling. It just sucks. It's just literally, I feel like, I guess the biggest problem I have is you just can't enjoy some money that you do make, right? Because you have to pay all these bills. Good for those people that can go on 3 or 4 vacations a year.
I got another one, Haggai 1 and 6. It's the book of Haggai. Chapter 1, verse 6. And it reads, ye have sown much and bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there's none warm. And he that earneth wages to put into a bag with holes. This is supposed to be the greatest nation on earth, the greatest economy, all these different things. But showing you again that this man is the devil. He's a deceiver. He's a liar. And again, I'm not even mad at Donald Trump. I made the statement about that when I was at camp. I said, because the thing is, that's the one thing he didn't lie about. The nigga said, I'm a snake. So you should be expecting the snake to try to bite you. I finally seen that movie Predators Badland too. That shit was pretty good. I liked it. Well, most of them Predators be pretty good anyway. But I liked it. I liked the whole concept and everything. Yeah. Yeah. But I just felt I remember the elder bringing that up. He was like, Deck, literally they thought Deck was soft, but Deck, he had to prove he wasn't soft. And sometimes, and it's truth. You gotta, the Lord is proving us now by taking us through this fire. This is our rite of passage called Lo Yim Layah B'Shem Yahshua. And if you come to serve the Lord, the scriptures tell you, prepare thyself for temptation, prepare to suffer. So again, it's a beautiful thing because the world hasn't experienced suffering yet. You see how they reacting to this now. You know what I mean? Like we been catching hell. So, just because we Jake on top of the fact, we impoverished on top of the fact we had the truth. Because the Lord from time to time, hardens us. And that's going through the afflictions. That's how we getting hardened. Endorse hardness as a good soldier of Yahushua Mashiach. So we understand that this shit, and for people that got children, it's bad enough. Most people can't. You got a lot of adults having trouble feeding themselves. So let alone people with families. The Lord is truly judging, man. Like I say again, I'm so grateful and appreciate everything the Lord has done for me. And he takes me through things all the fucking time. But I believe it's test to see if I'm gonna remain faithful. The Lord to do something that you like. Well, you know, the scriptures talk about holding on. You got to hold on, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's speaking for myself first and foremost, as well as all the true believers. You know, and the thing is, the elect is gonna hold on. Back into the video.
That can't be me. I mean, it just can't. You know, I can barely go on one vacation a year, let alone 3 or 4 or 5 like some of these people do. I don't get it. I really don't get it. It's just a struggle. I know everybody's struggling, but it's just, to me, I just feel like every day is $300. You might as well just put $300 out the window every single day, because that's life. It's insane.
I think a major recession indicator is the fact that soap, laundry detergent, and deodorant are now being stolen. Those are high theft items.
Let me get this, because again, he about to speak on something, and I find it funny because he was talking about, you know, and which is true. You go to Dollar Tree, you know, and, you know, CVS is these different little, you know, pharmacies and, you know, these dollar stores, Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, General, Dollar General. All these places, hygiene, they're blocking behind, you know, cages. Now, mind you, so, and I said that before, because I remember one day I was going to Walmart and I got frustrated because you got 1,000 motherfuckers working in here, and pretty much it take you an hour to get somebody to come fucking help you, you know. And it just hit me because it was me and a guy waiting, and I knew my spirit probably was on some 10 while his was up there. So I'm like, this is about some bullshit. I said, so damn, think about this. They locking the deodorant from you, and people already struggling, so you're gonna be fucked up, hungry, and stinking, and they don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? You know, and I was just like, damn, that's deep. The Lord really gonna make these people suffer. You know, that pride, you know, scriptures, matter of fact, let me get that. I thought of another scripture. This Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 18, I think. I'm sleepy. 16 and verse 18, Lord, give me the strength and energy. Papa Shop. This is the book of Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 18. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Let's look into that word, haughty.
Strong's H 1363. Govach.
Says exhaustion, grandeur, haughtiness. So pride, like, you know, you thinking, scripture say, if any man believe himself to be something, you know, I forget how exactly it's worded. I don't want to butcher it, but if any man believe himself to be something, you know, that's a fool to a degree. Proverbs 16 and 19, better it is to be of an humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. Because the Lord coming to deliver the humble, you know. I remember hearing a particular elder say that. He said the key is remaining humble. You know, a lot of men that probably walked away from the truth for whatever reason, because again, the Lord will try you. You know, the scriptures are a blueprint for a reason. You know what I mean? Again, yeah, living in emotion, because I'm an emotional individual. You know what I mean? You know, anger is an emotion. You know, but at the same time, it's like you got to apply the scriptures. I remember one of the brothers from Jersey made that statement. He said, you know, you're trying to figure out why this happened and why that happened and why this ain't happening, you know, but then you read, like David went off so much, the fact that, you know what I mean, he committed sins that was worthy of death. But the Lord spared him, because you go into the Psalms, I mean, you read a lot of them Psalms, it's either the Lord getting praised by David, or he's literally begging for forgiveness or mercy. It's either he praising or he begging for mercy. And that's deep. You know, just recently I found out, you know, I wasn't even praying correctly, because again, people just going to the Lord like he a genie or some shit like that. You're supposed to be praying and praising the Lord, you know. It make a lot of sense now, you know what I mean? Like, you know, with the praises, and, you know, like, you know, when the brothers made music, you know, which I got a lot of edification from a lot of them songs. I'm glad I still got access to it because I had to get another phone. I thought I was going to lose them. The Lord blessed me to have them because, again, my children love to hear the music. You know what I mean? Call Loyim La Yah Bashim Yahshua. So it says, better it is to be of a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud. And the Lord coming to get, Esau Edom, the so-called white man, is the proudest individual on the planet. He's likened onto the eagle, which is the most highest flying bird, but it's the most disgusting, the most abominable. An eagle is like I ain't gonna say cannibal, but an eagle eat a lot of different shit. It's a carnivore. It's the filthiest bird. And when you really go into this, the power of an eagle, be like, you think of the eagle, like, have you ever seen a turkey crow? No, it's not. A turkey vulture, Salaki, a turkey vulture. Them bitches big, but an eagle like 2 or 3 times the size of that bitch. An eagle, land, that motherfucker be bigger than you because just with the wingspan and whatnot. So it's a powerful bird, But again, the Lord stripping these things of their power, especially Babylon the Great, aka America. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 8 and verse 50. I'm gonna start at verse 49. And that thou hast humbled thyself I'm gonna start at verse 48. And this also thou art marvelous before the Most High, and that thou hast humbled thyself as it becometh thee, going back to being humble, and has not judged thyself worthy to be much glorified among the righteous. Scriptures talk about before honor is humility, Scriptures talk about not exalting yourself, Because again, you take time to think about it, the Lord created you perfectly. Handicaps and all, He was talking about, I remember Cat Williams made that statement. He was like, a dude will figure that shit out quicker than a woman. A woman is be 50 years old, still trying. I know a woman be 50 years old, still trying to get a BBL and all kind of shit. Well, he said a guy be 13 years old, look in the mirror, I got a big ass nose. He'll look at it again the next day, fuck it, I got a big ass nose. That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? A woman is 50 years old, still trying to change and perfect her body. The Lord created you the way He wanted you to be. You didn't even get an opportunity to pick how your hair look, what color your eyes is, your shape, because that's all genetics too, to a degree. But you can work on certain shit, certain things you can do within yourself. It's a statement about you can't basically manipulate the situation. All you can do is pretty much control how you react to it or something like that. Because shit gonna happen. Verse 50, for many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter time shall dwell in the world because they have walked in great pride. And then go back to their pride. And the Lord's gonna punish the proud. Oh man, I done dropped this damn thing like several times already.
All right, you got to being stolen. Those are high theft items. They now have to put them under lock and key at so many stores. And when a store invests money into putting in the infrastructure to lock in an item, that means it's highly being taken, and they're really working to reduce that level of theft on their inventory. Meaning, very simply, that people can't afford to clean themselves anymore. And just think about this. 20 years ago, when the minimum wage was $7.25, I could get a 2-pack or 3-pack of Irish Spring for $1. I could get Speed Stick deodorant for $1. And Irish Spring is bar soap in case you buy something different. And then laundry detergent, I could get a cheap bottle like Arm & Hammer for like $2, $3. So in one shift, in 1 hour, I would be able to afford my soap, my laundry detergent, and all. But now when I go and try to get those same things I used to buy, okay, I still get Speed Stick, the gel, and it's like $12. I did find one place that had it for $10, but now the price has gone up to $12. But it is a 2-pack, but it's still $12. So you split it in half, that's $6 for each tube, right? Bar soap, I'm finding 2 packs for $3, And then when it comes to laundry detergent, I haven't found any laundry detergent that's cheaper than $5. I may not be looking hard enough, but I can't find anything cheaper than $5. And that's like bottom of the barrel cheap, not even the decent soap that you used to be able to get for $3. That's bottom of the barrel. So in actuality, I'm walking around now spending like $20 to $30 just to buy those basic needs, which means the average person who's on minimum wage would have to work 3 to 4 hours just to be able to clean themselves on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. And back in the day, that would have been 1 hour worth of work. That's a recession. That's a problem. People are stealing because they can't afford the basic needs. We're not in a good place, folks. And right now, the administration has done nothing to bring down the inflation.
Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 2, and it reads, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. Skipping to verse 16, and it reads, when the wicked are multiplied, transgression increaseth, but the righteous shall see their fall. So if you are part of the righteous, the scriptures talk about in the book of, I know it's in the Apocrypha, I think it's in Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, or Sirach talks about 7 things, but it talks about a man pretty much seeing the joy of his children and one seeing the fall of his enemy, you know. So if you're part of the righteous, you're going to get to witness the fall of man. And to a degree, we're watching the fall of him now, you know what I mean? Again, so we're all being blessed by being able to have the eye salve to see this man. Because if you can see, it's not the immediate fall, you know. I can only imagine how the elders and apostles feel, you know what I mean? The beloved elders and apostles, because they've been doing this the longest. But what I'm saying is, you know, I get excitement and enjoyment out of seeing this fall. And you can clearly see it. America's not what it was not even 5 years ago. Think about that. I'm not even going to say 10 or 20. I'm going to say 5 years ago. Since the P. Diddy, you know what I mean? That's when Babylon the Great really truly changed. The P. Diddy literally changed everything. It's like that 6 feet distance, that 6 feet distance, that 6 feet distance really engulfed this wicked ass place. And then that's when you really saw this place for what it truly was. I'm just speaking as a man. That's, you know what I mean? But it's never been the same since then. And I know other men can say and can recall, and, you know, I remember the elder brother from Chicago, he was going into, he was like, you know, when all these malls was closing down. And then you had Amazon come by and they bought a lot of them to make their super centers, you know. But what happens with, you know, because again, it's going to be so, they not going to need all those super centers. They showed you that with, you know, I can't think of which one they opened and then they shut down. And then, like I said, again, they got the robots on standby. So again, this is going to happen. This is inevitable, even if some don't believe. I hope this shit getting on my nerves. Keep on starting over. I got one last scripture. I'm going to play the rest of this.
I'm looking for a teenage boy. Inflation. We're having big old parties on the White House lawn, dirt bikes, flipping UFC fights and stuff, but no policies have been put in place to bring down the prices or bring up minimum wage. Nothing has been done, which means as prices continue to go up, theft is going to go up, or people are just going to have to do without. But that's a major recession indicator for me. People can't even afford soap, deodorant, and laundry detergent. Y'all have a good day.
Today I got laid off after 8 years, but this is not the part where I fall apart. It's been like the most emotional day ever. I think I'm still in shock. Like, obviously it's gonna take some time for me to actually realize, like, all the initiatives I was working on. Like, I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and do those things with my team. And I'm just like built so much professionally that I'm really proud of.
The problem with America isn't that we are just living above our means. The problem is that everything is more expensive. So I took a look at my own finances just to make sure I wasn't tripping. Sure, I could lower my 1 gig of internet every month down and save about 30, let's just say $40. Sure, I can get by without my Crunchyroll account and an extra $15 that I spend on Netflix, Disney, Hulu Plus, and ESPN. Sure, I don't need Apple Music. I can save $12 that I have with a family plan for me and my wife. Sure, I don't have to eat out as much, even though that cost is just going to go to the grocery bill, so there's no savings there. And sure, there's probably some miscellaneous things that I'm missing that I could save money on. Like, I have a collection here. Sure, I don't have to collect my Funko Pops that are like, what, $10 a piece. After doing all the math, it's somewhere around about $900 and something a year that I could save. Let's just double that, and I'll even round it out to $2,000 even. Ideally, what am I doing with that money? This is not life-changing money. This is $2,000. It won't even pay my rent for the month. This isn't even enough money to put a down payment on a house. I would need to save like that for 5 years to even think about buying a house. Now, mind you, I'm not enjoying life at this point. I'm going to work and coming home, and I can't even watch my favorite shows because I don't have a Crunchyroll, I don't have a Netflix, I don't have a Hulu, an ESPN account. I don't have any of that. My Wi-Fi is slower because I decided to save on that. I'm not eating out, and to have any type of savings on that, I will literally have to start eating like a dog. So no, we are not living above our means. Everything is just more expensive. Sure, we can save money here and there, but it's not enough to take away the luxuries of life.
You guys know how I know the economy is absolutely through the toilet right now? I go to Harbor Freight. I'm sitting in the parking lot. There are no cars at Harbor Freight. You go to all these stores, right? And you walk in and you see the prices of these things that used to be, you know, say you'd find a product for $5. Now that product is $12. I'm seeing endless videos right now online of people coming out of grocery stores almost in tears. I watched a video of a man who went into a grocery store in his hometown. He lived in a small town in California. And mind you, this is California prices, okay? But even here, it's the same way in New Mexico. You go in to buy a meal. Say you go to buy stuff to make a spaghetti. That meal costs you $40, $45, $50 for freaking spaghetti. You guys, when are the prices going to start stabilizing? I can go to the grocery store and try to buy a 2-pound...
They're not. Because this is designed to weaken and pretty much break the average Babylonian citizen. Of course, this ain't affecting the elites, you know, because they're making money. You know what I mean? Again, like, you got shit. Even the you know, it's so funny because Trump making it seem like he's pointing the finger at the, you know, these gas companies talking about they price gouging, but you are heavily invested with the gas companies. So again, like I say, you're just dealing with a bunch of devils, and you about to really truly see their horns. You know, I didn't know ICE funding did get stopped. I was listening to some brothers speak on the ICE fund that got stopped. And I was like, but then I just remembered through the Spirit, because I did a lesson about when they didn't fund the government, they didn't fund ICE, I don't think, and they didn't fund the Coast Guard and they didn't fund certain aspects of the government. That's why they was talking about, like, you had the Coast Guard, certain Coast Guard bases didn't have electricity. Certain people that actually was employed with the Coast Guard couldn't pay their rent. I did a lesson on that. So I remember Patrick Humphrey spoke on it. I went and looked it up and found an article speaking on it. So yeah, but now I guess they reintroducing or renewing or allowing them to get the funding again, because it's all a big old, like you know, just like Trump is in bed with these different owners of these private prisons, you know. So it's all coming along just the way the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshua wanted to.
Package of beef, it'll wind up costing $20. What are we going to do about the pricing, guys? I really want to know, because seeing so many videos of people literally in tears because they can't afford groceries, they can't afford to pay their bills all in one pay.
Scriptures talk about that. It's better to die from the sword than to die of hunger.
check because they're having to split up payments. They're having to use credit cards. We have to use credit cards too. I just want to know when it's gonna get better. Is it ever gonna?
And I'm not bragging. I'm actually thankful. But when you listen to some people, for you to have to, basically, when you got to put food on credit, you're not gonna make it. Take time to really meditate on it. So as much hell as we catch, if you're not in a scenario like that, the Wadi Yahabashim al-Shah, because the Lord could really be, we go through shit. I know I go through a lot of shit, but I ain't in that situation. The Wadi Yahabashim al-Shah just for preserving me, the rent been paid, and I've been able to feed my children as well as myself, and so call lawyer blah Yahabashim al-Shah. Now I know how to give up a meal. I've had to do it already. But again, like for you to have to put food, you got people literally, that's the Lord's anger, and His anger is soon to turn to wrath.
Get better, or is this just the new normal?
The upper middle class and the lower middle class are having a really hard time, and the middle class is disappearing little by little. People are either
it's over with. So let me get this last scripture because again. It's no middle class anymore. It's just rich and poor. And you're seeing that now because you got people, again, that were doing way better than Jake that's struggling. Because, again, middle class, they were able to afford, more luxurious items than the poor, Again, we live in a credit-based system. So you might make $100,000, but you can afford because of your credit. And, that's how the social credit system going to be a true thing. Because if you, pretty much in line with what the government's policies is, if you doing what they say that you're supposed to be doing, then you will be allowed to do this and do that. You'll be allowed to get this. You'll be allowed to get that. You'll be allowed to go here. You'll be allowed to go there. Yeah. If you pay back your bill on time, that was all an experiment. But again, now those people are catching hell because everything has went up. But on top, again, when you're utilizing credit, you already paying interest on payments. So now that everything is inflated, that money that you didn't expect, now the interest is a lot more. You know what I mean? So, that's the Lord putting you. The scriptures say the deceived and the deceiver are both his. So, good for him. Lord, keep on cooking. Baba Kashah, Baba Kashah, Baba Kashah. And speaking as a man, I don't think this is going to be the year, but I think it's leading up to one. You know what I mean? And the Lord doing it in a glorious fashion. Call Loyam La Yahweh Shemel Shah. This is the book of 2nd. And all these things going to lead up to civil unrest. When these people can't, you know how these Edomites is? You got to pry it out of my cold, dead hand and shit. Like, you know what I mean? The scriptures talk about a civil war, and I'm about to bring it out now. The scriptures tell you in the book of Numbers, what's that, chapter 35, it talks about the only way that this land can be cleansed is by the blood of the people that, I got to find it, because I'm butchering it. I don't like butchering when it comes to scriptures. I'm going to get it real quick, though. Then I'm going to end it, because this has been way too long, but at the same time, hope somebody got something out of it, because sometimes you got to get that out. This is the book of Numbers chapter 35 and verse 33, and it says, So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land. How was this land gotten? By rape, robbery, and murder. It was people already indigenous to this land, came here and pretty much helped those Edomites when they were kicked out of their colony, or who's to say how it really was? Again, history is a big ass lie to a degree because it's his story. My brother used to always say that. Then you come to find out you had Jake that had slaves. I was just watching Dave Chappelle talk about that. You go into history, you find out Jake had slaves. You know what I mean? You go into people like Denmark Vesey. If the Lord was with you, you could buy yourself out of slavery. One of the most fascinating people. I had a book on that, different slavery rebellions and whatnot. One of the most fascinating people in history to me was Denmark Vesey. Because he was up there he was able to buy himself out of slavery, and he was plotting on really like fucking the Edomite up. But the Lord didn't want that at that time. And that just show you how, again, it's the will of the Lord. The Lord designed him to be like, we just go fuck these motherfuckers up. He plotted it, planned it, set it up, but wasn't able to execute it. That's deep. Man's goings is of the Lord. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are. For blood is the follow of the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. So this land was taken by rape, robbery, and murder. A lot of, Gadites and Reubenites lost their lives, trying to hold on to and defend and protect their land. Because, it was a judgment from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. But, Esau, Edom's going to drink of that cup as well. And the scriptures talk about he going to drink double. So what you did is going to be basically brought back to you twofold. And Esau did a lot of wickedness. So, of course, you would be scared. You know what I mean? Like, who would be, how you did something bad in school and then, like, literally, who made that joke about it? Like, your mother be like, yeah, your daddy gonna talk to you when you get home. So maybe your daddy worked late. She didn't whoop your ass. You just, had you wait on your daddy. See, you anticipating it, but you really ain't thinking about it because he ain't there. You start thinking about it more and more the closer you get. That's why these Edomites panicking. I was listening to something the elder said, because, again, I call him a demon, but, I mean, he obviously doesn't have great power to, what the elder called him, Hokab. Hokab don't got a lot of power. I just saw that, the spiritual, it was spiritual what happened with us, again. But, all things work to the good for the Most High, or all things work to the good for those that love him. All things work for the good for the Most High, for all those, I'm butchering the Salakia. I do not feel like it. I hate butchering the scriptures, though. I'll be convicted, like, you can't butcher it. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's a spirit, too, Or like, okay, because you're just a vessel. I mean, when you take the time to really think about, we're set up. If you really set up to do this, and I don't feel like doing it, you got to do it. Romans 8 and verse 28, and it reads, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love the Most High, to them who are the called according to his purpose. So something may not appear, you might have to, I was just listening to brother say the statement, because that's in the scripture, suffer wrongfully. Yahweh shall suffer wrongfully. If you being his disciple, you don't think some of us going to suffer wrongfully? So I'm all over the place again. I'm probably naming some various topics, but I'm going to end this on the energy and the stage that's being set up is a stage pretty much for onslaught, a slaughter. People about to really spaz out and lose it because, again, it's not getting better, it's getting worse. There's so many tensions in the air. You got this whole Carmelo Anthony situation. You got Edomites upset that this Jake, pretty much took out, this Edomite. You can feel the energy in the air. And it made me think of that demon Charles the White. That's a nigga demon, man. I pray that the Lord judge that nigga in front of the whole screen. How you gonna raise up money for that dude and then keep it? And then he gonna use the excuse, well, his father ain't shit. Which, I mean, I hear the family raised up money and moved. So, that's Jake for you. Niggas ain't shit. That's why the elders been in the spirit to talk about, come judge these 2/3 ass niggas, Baba Kashala. I mean, they serve their purpose, but, I mean, to this point, well, they going to be fuel for the fire. Esau going to have fun with these 2/3 ass niggas. So this book is 2nd Ezra chapter 15, and starting at verse 12, and it reads, Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. They that till the ground shall mourn, for their seed shall fail through the blasting in the hail and with a fearful consolation. Verse 14, woe to the world and to them, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands.
Verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So a man is not going to be regarding the government, but pay attention to what was first said. It said it's going to be one nation of people. So it's going to be a civil war. But it's going to be race war, because one nation going to stand up against another. You got one people against another people, but it's going to be, Edomites against Edomites as well, because you're going to have one group of people that believe this. The government's trying to help us, But you're going to have another group of people sitting up there talking about, no, these people ain't trying to help us at all. And that's, again, you got uproars going on, you got civil unrest, you got all these different things happening simultaneously. And you can't tell me that that the end is not. If you can't see, maybe that's why, the elder was like, vocab came on there sounding desperate. And I can see that. Again, like that dude. That's why I say a high level diva, because again, when you're around certain men of the Lord, I could feel energy off of them. So, I know I met a couple brothers. I was like, damn, you know what I mean? Like, that dude got a big spirit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you say that dude probably so. I remember the elders was like, he eating all day, getting fat. He probably depressed shit. You know what I mean? Like, he trying to stop a movement though. You know what I mean? You try to box against the Lord, dude. You better hope the Lord don't bug your ass out or something like that. I would love to see that before the end, because again, you could just see the demon on that nigga. He and you can see the hypocrite on him too. Like, that's how he's set up though. Like, say, nigga, you supposed to be so much about the Bible and saving the world, but you ain't talking about nobody that's doing true wickedness to the world. Like, get the fuck out of here. You a demon, nigga. Fuck you paying to go from England, from America to England and back. How you doing? How you paying for that? Who you know to get you to be able to go and talk to the NFL? Right. So that's, that's it in a nutshell, you know what I mean? Again, So with that, if you're so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Civil Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the laws, statutes, and commandments of your power, whose true name in the Paleo Hebrew is Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, you will be destroyed. With that, I want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to call Elohim like Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, by Hashem Kodash, double honors to the elders and to my apostles, the ones that taught me this truth. Peace and salutation to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives, as well as the freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akim and the Aqua, the listen and learning, Lord willingly. This is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appear like the other nations, with whom subscribe to this truth. To you, I say Shalom. Till next time, I'm able to come with another lesson. Shalom, Shalom. It's like Kwam Yasharala and Mawath Lamabon.